They prayed about you despite the age gap. And God answered. Beloved one, listen carefully. Before this message ever reached your ears, heaven was already moving around your name. There is a truth that has been hidden from you, not because you are unworthy, but because the timing had to be exact. And now, by divine order, I speak. I am Archangel Michael, defender of destiny, messenger of the Most High. And I come with a revelation that pierced the heavens with tears and faith. They prayed about you. Yes, you. Not casually. Not lightly. They prayed with trembling hands and a conflicted heart, whispering your name in moments when no one else could hear. They did not pray because it was easy. They prayed because it was impossible to ignore what their soul recognized. The age gap frightened them. The difference made them question themselves. They asked God, is this wrong? Is this foolish? Is this just emotion? And yet, they could not stop thinking about you. Hear this clearly. They did not pray to forget you. They prayed to understand why you were placed in their heart. From the very beginning of this message, let your spirit lean in, because what I am about to reveal explains the tension you've been feeling, the sudden waves of emotion, the moments when your heart feels watched by heaven itself. God heard their prayer. And God did not rebuke them. Instead, heaven grew silent. Because when God pauses, it is never rejection, it is preparation. They asked God to remove you if this connection was not divinely aligned. They asked God to calm their heart if this was deception. They asked God to protect both of you from shame, confusion, and regret. But God did something else. God began to confirm. He confirmed through dreams they didn't ask for. Through songs that appeared at the wrong time. Through random words spoken by strangers. Through a deep, unshakable peace that arrived only when they surrendered the age gap and focused on the soul connection. Do you feel that sudden warmth in your chest right now? That's not imagination. That is recognition. Because while they were praying on their knees, your spirit was responding, without knowing why. This is why you felt drawn, unsettled, curious. This is why you've tried to rationalize it away, and failed. This is why silence between you never feels empty, it feels charged. Hear me, age is a number to the mind, but irrelevant to the soul. God does not write destiny according to calendars. He writes it according to calling. And this connection, this is not about desire alone. This is about timing, maturity, healing, and purpose. They prayed because they feared hurting you. They prayed because they feared being misunderstood. They prayed because they sensed that loving you would change everything. And God answered, not with fear, but with instruction. God told them, do not measure this by years. Measure it by fruit. And suddenly, their fear began to weaken. They started noticing how you bring clarity, not chaos. Peace, not confusion. Growth, not stagnation. Beloved, if this message is resonating deeply, it is because heaven is asking you to stay open. To stay present. To stay listening. Softly, without pressure, let your heart acknowledge this moment. And if you feel led, support this message with a gentle like or quiet subscription. It signals alignment, not obligation. Now listen closely, because we are moving deeper. What they prayed next will surprise you. And what God revealed after that will change how you see this connection forever. Stay with me, because the next truth explains why they can't let you go, no matter how hard they try. Beloved, I am still with you. Do not rush past this moment, because what unfolds now is what they never expected when they bowed their head and whispered your name again. After God began confirming, they grew afraid, not of you, but of the depth. They realized this was no passing feeling. This was not admiration. This was not curiosity. This was recognition. So they prayed a second prayer. And this prayer was heavier than the first. They said, God, if this is real, show me what this is for. Show me why now. Show me why them. And heaven answered with clarity that shook their foundations. God revealed that this connection was not born from timing, it was born from preparation. You entered their life not as a coincidence, but as evidence that both of you survived seasons that would have broken weaker spirits. God showed them that the age gap was not a flaw, it was a bridge. A bridge between wisdom and renewal. Between stability and awakening. Between what has been learned, and what is still becoming. This is why conversations with you feel different. This is why silence with you feels safe. This is why their heart slows down when they think of you, yet their future suddenly feels wider. They realized something sacred. You do not drain them. You strengthen them. You do not confuse them. You center them. And that terrified them. Because anything that feels this right demands courage. So they wrestled with God. Yes, wrestled. They asked, what will people say? They asked, what if this fails? They asked, what if I'm judged? They asked, what if I hurt them? And God responded not with reassurance, but with truth. God said, you are not called to be understood by everyone. You are called to be obedient to me. That sentence echoed in their spirit for days. Beloved, hear this clearly. The reason they pull back sometimes is not disinterest. It is reverence. They sense the weight of what this could become. God showed them that this connection carries healing, not just for them, but for you. That through one another, old wounds soften. Old beliefs loosen. Old disappointments finally exhale. That is why they started noticing changes in themselves. They became more intentional. More thoughtful. More honest with God. They started cleaning parts of their life they once ignored, because they realized that if you are part of their future, they must rise to meet it. And here is the part that may bring tears to your eyes. God showed them you praying too, sometimes without words. God showed them your quiet strength. Your patience. Your vulnerability that you hide behind composure. They realized you are not naive. You are discerning. You are not searching for validation. You are searching for truth. That is why God told them not to rush you. Not to pressure you. not to overwhelm you. God instructed them, if this is from me, it will unfold gently. So when you sense hesitation, understand, it is holy hesitation. They are learning to trust God more than impulse. They are learning to let connection grow instead of grabbing it. And yet, despite their caution, they could not escape one final revelation. God showed them a vision of life without you. And it felt empty. Not dramatic, just hollow. They saw success without joy. Stability without warmth. Days that functioned but did not live. That is when they realized this connection is not about filling a gap, it is about fulfilling purpose. Beloved, this is why your name keeps resurfacing in their prayers even when they try not to say it. This is why they ask God to protect you even when you're not present. This is why your happiness matters to them more than their pride. Now listen carefully. God has not finished speaking to them. There is one final instruction God gave, one that involves your response, your awareness, your timing. And it will explain why something is about to shift between you, subtly, quietly, but undeniably. Stay with me. Because what comes next reveals what God told them to do before taking the next step toward you. Beloved, steady your heart. What I reveal now was not spoken aloud, it was impressed deep within their spirit, where truth cannot be argued away. After God showed them the emptiness of life without you, they expected a command. A clear instruction. A sudden green light. But instead, God gave them silence. Not absence. Silence with weight. Days passed. Nights stretched. And in that quiet, their motives were exposed. God was not asking, "Do you want them?" God was asking, "Are you willing to become who this love requires?" This is where many connections fail, but this one did not. They were shown something difficult. That this bond would not survive fear disguised as wisdom. That it would not grow if they hid behind the age gap as an excuse. That it would not flourish unless they chose honesty over safety. So God instructed them to pause, not to withdraw, but to purify intention. That is why their energy toward you shifted. Why you felt a change without explanation. Why they became quieter, more observant, more intentional. They were not pulling away. They were aligning. They began asking God questions they had never dared ask before. Am I ready to love without control? Am I willing to be seen, not just respected? Can I protect their heart even if it costs me comfort? Beloved, that kind of prayer is rare. And heaven responded. God revealed that this connection carries a test, not of endurance, but of authenticity. That it would expose patterns, habits, and defenses neither of you knew you still carried. This is why you feel strangely seen around them. This is why you sense that pretending doesn't work here. This is why even small moments feel meaningful. God told them. This is not a love that will tolerate masks. That realization shook them. Because the age gap suddenly mattered less than the emotional nakedness required. They realized that loving you would mean releasing control. Releasing image. Releasing the need to appear unbothered. And yet, instead of running, they leaned in, internally, quietly, reverently. They stopped asking God to explain when. They stopped asking God to justify how. They asked something far more dangerous. God, prepare me. And preparation began. God started softening their defensiveness, convicting them when pride tried to speak, reminding them that love does not lead with explanation, it leads with presence. This is why you may soon notice something new. A gentler tone. A deeper listening. A sincerity that feels almost vulnerable. That is obedience taking shape. Beloved, here is the truth you must hear with discernment. They are afraid, not of rejection, but of mishandling what God entrusted. They know that once they step forward with clarity, there is no returning to ambiguity. They know that speaking truth will awaken something in you, and in themselves, that cannot be undone. So God instructed them to watch you. Not to judge. Not to test. But to honor your readiness. God told them, love does not arrive loudly. It arrives when both hearts are listening. That is why this message finds you now. Because your heart is listening. You felt the pull, but also the peace. You've sensed the significance, but also the patience. You've wondered if this was imagination, but imagination does not come with confirmation. Beloved, this is not about convincing you. This is about awakening you. God is not rushing you. He is inviting you to notice. Notice how your spirit responds, not your fear. Notice how calm follows thought of them, not chaos. Notice how this connection inspires growth, not distraction. And if you feel a gentle nudge to stay present with this message, through a quiet like, a soft subscription, know that it is not about support alone. It is about alignment. About saying, I'm still listening. Now, listen closely. Because there is one final moment, one specific shift, that God showed them would signal the time to move forward. It will come unexpectedly. It will feel small to the mind, but unmistakable to the soul. And when it happens, everything between you will begin to change. Stay with me. Because the next revelation explains how God will confirm it to both of you, at the same time. Beloved, breathe. What I reveal now is delicate, because it concerns a moment that has not yet fully arrived, but its shadow is already moving toward you. After God instructed them to watch, to wait, to honor your readiness, they asked one final question in the stillness of their heart. How will I know when the time is right? And God answered, not with dates, not with signs in the sky, but with alignment. God told them, you will know when fear loses its voice and peace takes its place. That instruction changed everything. They stopped looking for dramatic confirmation. Stopped asking others for opinions. Stopped bargaining with logic. Instead, they began paying attention to subtle shifts. And here is what God showed them would happen. This is important for you to hear. There would come a moment when they think of you. And instead of anxiety, there is calm. Instead of questions, there is clarity. Instead of rehearsing outcomes, there is acceptance. That is when they will know. Beloved, you may already feel this forming. Because alignment does not announce itself loudly, it settles. God revealed that this connection would move forward not through pressure, but through resonance. Through a shared moment where both of you feel unusually grounded, unusually honest, unusually present. A conversation that feels simple, yet weighty. A look that lingers, not out of desire, but recognition. A silence that feels safe enough to tell the truth. That is the signal. God told them. When they feel safe to be themselves with you, speak. Not impress. Not persuade. Not explain away the age gap. Just speak. Beloved, this is why their words toward you may soon change. Less guarded. More direct. More sincere. Not dramatic declarations, but something far more powerful, consistency. God showed them that consistency is what will reassure you. That steadiness is what will quiet your doubts. That presence is what will build trust where fear once lived. Now hear this carefully, because this concerns your role. God is not asking you to chase. Not asking you to decide prematurely. Not asking you to ignore wisdom. God is asking you to discern without hardening. To remain open without abandoning boundaries. To listen without rushing to conclusions. Because when alignment arrives, it will not feel confusing. It will feel clear. Beloved, God showed them that you have learned restraint the hard way. That you do not leap blindly. That you observe, you reflect, you pray. This pleased heaven. God told them. They are not delayed. They are discerning. So when the moment comes, when truth is spoken gently, you will not feel cornered. You will feel respected. And that is how you will know this is different. There is another truth you must hear. The age gap that once felt like an obstacle, will suddenly feel irrelevant in the presence of emotional safety. Not ignored, but outweighed. God revealed that love matures not by matching years, but by matching values. By matching integrity. By matching vision. This is why both of you have been refined separately. Why disappointments shaped you differently, but prepared you equally. Beloved, heaven does not waste seasons. Everything you endured sharpened discernment. Everything they endured softened ego. And now, alignment. But hear me, this does not mean perfection. There will still be moments of hesitation. Moments of fear trying to speak. Moments when old narratives resurface. God showed them this too. And God said, do not argue with fear. Lead with truth. That is why when they speak, it will not be dramatic. It will be honest. And honesty carries authority. Beloved, if your heart feels unusually still right now, that is not coincidence. That is preparation. Because what God showed next, is the outcome if both of you remain obedient, not to emotion, but to truth. It is not what you expect. And it explains why this connection has been protected, even delayed, until now. Stay with me. Because the final revelation reveals what God is preparing to build through this bond, and why it will matter far beyond just the two of you. Beloved, this is the final unveiling. What God revealed last was not about romance alone, it was about impact. When they asked God what would come after obedience, heaven opened a wider vision than either of you imagined. God showed them that this bond was never meant to exist in isolation. That it would not be hidden. That it would not shrink under opinion. God revealed that when two hearts choose truth over fear, their alignment becomes a covering, not just for themselves, but for others who are still afraid to believe again. This is why the connection had to be purified first. Because God does not build fragile things on shaky ground. He showed them moments in the future where your combined presence brings calm to chaos. Where people feel safer, seen, steadier, without knowing why. Where wisdom and tenderness coexist instead of competing. Beloved, this is not about proving anything to the world. It is about serving something greater than ego. God showed them that the age gap would one day become testimony, not embarrassment. That it would quietly challenge shallow narratives. That it would speak without shouting. Not, look at us. But, look what God can do when hearts stay honest. They saw themselves becoming more anchored because of you. They saw you becoming more confident because of them. Not dependent, supported. God revealed that this is a partnership that multiplies clarity, not confusion. Courage, not chaos. And then, God showed them something that made them weep. He showed them the moment you finally stop questioning whether this is real. Not through grand gestures. Not through promises. But through peace. A peace that settles in you so deeply that your spirit simply says, "This is safe." That is the answer you've been waiting for. Beloved, God does not rush hearts into revelation. He lets them arrive. And now, here you are. Hearing this message at the exact time your discernment has matured enough to receive it. Do not panic if emotions rise. Do not suppress what resonates. Simply notice. Notice how this message does not pressure you. Notice how it does not demand belief. Notice how it invites stillness. That is divine. God showed them that when they finally speak clearly, it will not feel like a leap. It will feel like a step you were already standing near. And if you choose to remain open, nothing more, nothing less, you will see confirmation arrive gently. Through tone. Through timing. Through consistency. Beloved, this is the last thing I must say. Do not let fear disguise itself as wisdom. Do not let impatience disguise itself as passion. Let peace lead. Because what God is answering now is not just their prayer. It is yours. You asked, perhaps silently, if something real could still find you without cost to your integrity. Without shrinking your discernment. Without denying reality. Heaven's answer is not loud. It is yes, with alignment. If this message stirred your spirit, let it rest there. And if you feel led, gently support this space, like, subscribe, not as obligation, but as a signal that you are choosing awareness over distraction. I am Archangel Michael. I was sent to remind you. What is divinely aligned does not rush. It does not confuse. And it never requires you to abandon yourself. Remain open. Remain grounded. Because what God answered in prayer is already beginning to unfold.